We got that.
And you're in Texas, right?
Tropical depression, whatever he is. Hermes.
Oh, right. Creeping up the coast there.
Is it Hermes? Is that what it is, Hermes?
Herman. Yeah, Hermine or something, I think, yeah.
I wish they would make them English, man, so I can... Okay, let me get the right buttons here, and we're going to rock and roll. Now, why? Okay. Okay, I think we're... You ready to go?
I'm all set, yeah.
Well, I wish I was.
Well, it's awful damn early in the morning. You could have picked I'm good for morning, but you could have picked a better time.
Well, it's 9 o'clock here. I mean, I should be...
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you've got no excuse.
I've got no excuse, but Okay.
From the Hill Country in Texas, this is OneRadioNetwork.com.
And a very pleasant good morning to you. And the animals are starting to pair up here in Dripping Springs. That's right, because we've had a lot of rain. Some kind of tropical depression thing has been rolling up from South Texas. It began, I believe, Thursday. We got about 3 inches of rain, and then 5 inches yesterday. We are about an hour west of Austin, Texas. Heard on the news this morning, the Austin station, where there were anywhere from 6 to 12 inches in Austin yesterday, this tropical thingy. And they're certainly starting to pair up in the Austin area. We love rain out here in the Texas Hill Country because, one, rainwater collection, have a creek, and so our motto is just bring it on, baby. Just bring it on. Sometimes the angels bring on more than what you can deal with, but so far so good. This is a perfect situation where you want to have more rainwater capacity than you need. For example, we have 2 10,000-gallon tanks here, which at the moment, and have been for the last 2 days, full. Like right to the top. So the last 3 or 4 inches that we received yesterday, it was just on the ground. So this is a perfect example when they talk about rainwater collection. It's really about capacity. Because here in Texas and other places, it can not rain for 6 months sometimes. Of course, with 20,000 and being single, and even if our whole family of 3 could easily deal with that. But you always want to have more in the bank, I guess. Not a greedy thing, but it's always just good to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And if I were, if I had an extra $5 or $6 grand, which would have cost, I'd go ahead and get another one today. If I had once, $5 grand sitting around not doing anything. So it is about capacity and our capacity to hold the water when it comes, because it just doesn't all come when we want it sometimes. Tomorrow, Dr. John Apsley, he is a very interesting man. We're going to talk about cancer and his cancer cures and some of the wild things that he does in the way of health. That'll be tomorrow. And then we do a special show on 9/11 on September 10th, replacing Open Phone Friday, Andrew Goss and the Real World of Money. This morning, one of our favorite guests, because he's just always a ball of fire and great fun, even in the morning in Olympia, Washington, where it's 7 o'clock. And he just had his breakfast, so he's ready to go. And we'll say good morning to Clif High, halfpasthuman.com. Mr. High, good morning.
Good morning to you, too. Nice to hear that everybody's getting rain.
Yeah, you guys getting a bunch up there?
Yeah, unexpectedly, quite the winter-style rain, what we call sleeping rain here when it comes in at night. It's so irregular in terms of striking the roof that it doesn't form a pattern and keep you awake. Thus the sleepy rain.
The last time we talked, prior not being on the air, you were telling me about You have some really weird weather where you having a hard time growing vegetables?
Oh, it's been terrible up here this year, all up and down Puget Sound region, actually all the way down on the wet half of Oregon, maybe as far as Jay Widener's area in South Oregon. The weather, we went from September of last year until early July of this year, basically in a winter mode, where we had over this year what should have been spring, 57 days of record-setting below-average temperatures and rain. And so we had no tomato crop, even in the greenhouse. The air was so mold-laden and it was continuously damp that basically all we did was blow air over vegetables that refused to thrive.
Really?
So, yeah, it was not a good year for that, yeah.
Uh-huh. Are you on rainwater up where you are?
No, I'm on a well.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we've got so much groundwater here that after a little while the ground refuses to accept the rain, and then you've got real issues.
Yeah. I've been in touch with an interesting website called testttherain.com. Testttherain.com. You all may look at that and see if there's anything there that's it's really interesting. They're doing some great work, and they may be able to help you if you want to take a look at your rain. We're going to be testing our rain from this rain and mixed in with the last 2 or 3 Gulf disturbances, Clif, that came up, and ladies and gentlemen, just to see if we have any really yuck stuff in there from the Gulf. Boy, I'm hoping I don't find anything like, Corexit or something. I mean, well, what am I going to do then?
Well, I would even be more concerned, I don't know about your area, but around here I'd be more concerned about whatever it is they put in the chemtrails. That was one of the reasons for me going to the trouble of building the dome for growing food, was that it kept whatever that stuff is off of the food supply.
Do we know what's in those chemtrails? Do you know, or does anybody know?
I've read vast quantities of literature about them. There's nothing definitive because, well, yes, we know. We don't have an official answer because the officialdom refuses to acknowledge that they're doing it. But it's not good stuff. So, no matter if you're collecting rainwater for direct consumption, I would certainly test it for all of the heavy metals as well as, fibers and all this other stuff, simply because it's coming down through the chemtrails. Chemtrails are an odd phenomenon in the sense that the rationale that I read in the patents, one of the patents, for instance, suggested, there's over 400 patents, by the way, that relate to chemtrail kind of technology. And one of them suggested that, if we put X number of particulate matter this high up in the atmosphere, it'll shed 2% of the terrible heat and prevent all that nasty global warming that we're so scared of.
Yeah.
Okay, so the issue, though, is that all of these patents, out of the 400 patents, perhaps 2/3 or greater, are dependent upon the particulate matter being so small and so high in the air that basically it never comes down. Or its cycling process to coming down to Earth might be on the order of 7 to 10 months. Well, that's not the case with whatever they're doing with chemtrails. You can actually, from my perspective here, since I'm at an oblique enough angle frequently to the spraying over Puget Sound, I can watch the stuff be sprayed at a height of maybe 10,000, 15,000 feet, and then gradually work its way down. And, of course, it gets below the clouds rain, and there you go.
There you go. Yeah, I've done several very elaborate, a couple $100. I don't know how elaborate that is. It was $200 worth of elaboration. Tests before our filtering system, and it comes clean. But I don't really know if they can detect this stuff like you just. Well, yeah, they do the metals and all that. So not sure.
Well, no, but are they looking for things? See, here's the problem.
Okay.
With all laboratory kind of experiments, if you're not looking for it, you usually don't find it, unless you did something like a broad spectrographic analysis on a broad spectrum, and then you would get any abnormalities that were seen within the range you'd specified. But if you're not looking for it, you're not going to find it.
Yeah.
So you need to look for barium and just not, because most of them will probably, when you say test for heavy metals, will probably look for lead and iron, that kind of thing, right? Both of which are not really good for health. However, would they test for barium and some of the other components of the chemtrails. I don't know.
Where would we look? Can you lead us to a place where we could look to see what things we should test for to make sure that they test it for, like in my test, and other people, their listeners would like to test? Do you have a site? Do you know?
No, I'm sorry, I don't. But you should easily be able to Google chemtrails plus sign and chemical analysis in quotes. And it should give you a number of people have done this. They've actually read of studies of people going up in little planes and chasing the chemtrails themselves.
I like to do that.
Sticking their hands out and, with a swab kind of a deal and swabbing some of it, right?
Oh, man. So you do, so that's the way you Google. See, you're a computer guy, so you do chemtrails plus, then in quotes, do chemical analysis.
Correct. It's just it's what's known as a regular expression. If you want to be really powerful in the computer age and you don't want to be a programmer, you should still read books, or there's one or two good ones. It's been a while since I've read them, so I can't remember the titles. But on regular expression.
Regular expression.
Okay, this is a specific computer term, and it applies to all search engines, and it will make you a search god. There's no question.
I want to be one of those.
You could in fact craft any. You want a specific answer to a question. It's no good getting back 5.6 million pages on a particular question, right? That you may ask.
Right.
So you want to zero in on the answer you want. So what you really need to do is to be able to craft an expression that includes all these modifiers, so like the plus sign, minus sign, and a few of the others that allow you to do substitution. So
I want to learn that.
Yeah, it's actually quite fascinating. Of course, you've got your computer there. You can play around with Google and test and explore all you want. But as regular expressions are at the core of all of the search algorithms, in all of the search engines as well as many other places. Anywhere there's a search function, you can plop in a regular expression, and a regular expression, like in this case, the quotes means keep these two words together. I only want to see stuff where these two words are absolutely together.
Chemical analysis.
Correct.
And what does a plus mean?
Join this into a conjunction. So this word plus whatever you find following it. And if you wanted to get really tricky, you'd put them all in parentheses, and you could have a bunch of them all strung together, and it gets quite complex, but you needn't go that far. Usually, in fact, it's not required in order to get very specific answers. But when working up at Microsoft, the people that got the most street cred, so to speak, were those guys that could plop a regular expression into a broad-based search engine like Google and come back with 1 or 2 pages.
Wow. So maybe we could even Google regular expression in Google and tell you how to do it.
And have at it. There's plenty of places that, and by the way, that'll lead you right through, and you've got basically the core of how to program Perl.
Perl?
Yeah.
What's Perl?
Perl is lots of little parentheses. Perl is the language that is at the core of PPDs and some of these other PHP and some of these other languages that you'll see when you do things in forums and these kind of places.
I see.
It actually aids, and it's at the Perl is really, I think, probably 40% at least of the workhorse of the internet. So about 40% of the time in dealing with an interactive page, bringing you back some kind of data, splashing up ads, any of this kind of stuff. About 40% of the time, at least, you're dealing with a Perl script somewhere.
I see. Clif High is with us, and here's our phone number, so please come in and join us, 888-663-6386. Question or comment for Clif High, half-past human, and our email, patrick@oneradionetwork.com. We already have